So going over page 7, question or example number 4, it says here, determine the coordinates of image points after the translation. They gave us a point, okay? So the point is at 2, 5. That is in the graph y equals to f of x. We don't know what graph this is, but they just gave us one point in that graph, okay? So that's basically what they're saying here. What are the coordinates of the image on A prime, that's the image point, on the graph of y minus 5 equals f of x plus 4. So imagine this 2, 5 point. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the point A. And then it got translated, and then this is, we're trying to figure out where is the point A now after this translation. Before we do that, we have to look for what's the K value and the H value. So what's the K value? K is positive 5. Okay, very good. And what's the H value? Very good. Yeah, minus 4. Okay. So if we wanted to do the same thing as what we did last time, we said x, y is our point, right? X, y is at 2, 5. Now we're gonna figure out the image after the translations, 2 translations, horizontal and vertical. So x is gonna be x minus 4, right? Because this is the horizontal, so it affects the h. And then the vertical is y plus 5, and it's affecting the y. So x minus 4. If our x is 2, 2 minus 4 is going to be now at negative 2. And if y is 5, and then we add 5 to that, that's going to be at 10. So 2, 5 has now moved 4 to the left and 5 up. So the new location of A. So A prime is at negative 2, 10. Yes? Is that okay? So what does that mean? This point moved 4 to the left. So you 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. And up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is our A, and our A prime is now up there. A prime. Okay, is that good? Any questions? Yeah, so they just kind of, they don't want to call it A and B. It's the same point, it's just got translated, so that's A prime. Yeah, you would call it A, and then the little thing there, it's called prime.
So if you have like, can you have more than one prime per se? Like A1, A2, A3?
A prime too, but that's probably, that's a different translation, yeah. I wonder.
Different translations in it, wanting to be dropped differently.
Come again, sorry?
Like, if you have 2 different translations, but they don't want the translations together.
Oh, okay. Then, yeah. So if that's a question, then the question A would be an A prime, and then there would be a question B, a different translation, that's another A prime. So a separate question. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, so now let's take a look at the part B. Yeah.
I was wondering why you switched the C for the y equals to -5.
Why did I change the sign? It's because y minus k is equals to f of x minus h. So if this is a minus 5, f of x plus 4, you look at this one in here. This is a minus, minus, so the k is 5. Okay, now this one here, this is a minus, this is a plus, but it should be a minus. How did that happen? So that happened because it's supposed to be a minus, so minus, minus, and then a negative, negative, that will simplify it to a positive. So h is a negative 4. Yeah? Okay, you got it. Okay, so let's take a look at letter B. The point negative 1, 7 lies on the graph of this function. We don't know what the function is, but we know there's a point within that function, negative 1, 7. What are the coordinates of the image B prime? Okay, because we started off with the point B, now it's been translated, it's called B prime, on the graph of y equals f of x minus 2 minus 6. Okay, so what does that mean? If this negative 6 was transferred to the other side so that the y is isolated, right? So if we want, we can say it's going to be y, bring this over there, it's plus 6 equals to f of x minus 2. I see that this is a plus 6, so what I could do now is I can go like this, y minus minus 6. Okay, so it's clear what our k value. F of x minus, what's our h? Positive 2. Yeah, so now it's clear which one's positive, which one's negative. So what is the k value? K is negative 6, and what's the h value? H is a positive 2. So what we could do is we can do the mapping. Okay, we call this mapping. The point is at negative 1, 7. That's the original point. Now it's been translated. So x, okay, so what are we going to do? X, this is the horizontal translation of 2 units to the right. So plus 2. Plus 2. And then what's the y? Y got subtracted by minus 6. So x plus 2, the new point would be, if x is negative 1, it's going to be negative 1 plus 2 is positive 1. Y minus 6, now if 7 is the y, so 7 minus 6 is 1. So therefore B prime is at now 1, 1. Yeah, this is a nice, easy multiple choice question. Yeah, multiple choice question or a short answer question. But there's a lot of understanding in here to get that 1 point. Okay, so far so good. Example 5, determine the domain and range after the translation. So f of x has a domain of negative 3. Okay, x is, how would you read this? How would you read that one? Yeah, so you would read that as, started with x. X is greater than or equal to negative 3, but less than or equal to 5. So the x values are from -3 to +5. Right? -3 to +5. What about the range? Range are the y values, and says here, how would you read this? Y
Greater than or equal to 12
greater than or equal to 4.
or less than or equal to 10.
Okay, but it has to be less than or equal to 10. So, or you can say it's from -4, or no, +4 to 10. Well, we don't know what that function looks like, but they just gave us a domain and a range. So what are the domain and range of the function, the new function after the translation y plus 2 equals f of x plus 8? Okay, let's see here. Y minus k equals to f of x minus h. Okay, so how can we rewrite this so that it follows this form?
K is -2.
Yeah, y minus minus 2, that gave us a plus 2, right? Equals to f x minus minus 8. So the double negative will give us a positive, okay? So what's the h? Oh, let's start with the k value. What's the k value? -2. What's the h value? -8, right? Good. So what does that say? It says that all of the points, the range is from y is greater than or equal to 4 but less than or equal to 10. But the range, all of those ranges, all of those y values got shifted down to. So we gotta subtract 2 for every single one. So we gotta subtract 2. So the new range would be 2. Okay, y is greater than or equal to 2, but less than or equal to 8. Okay, now it's from 2 to 8, because everything shifted down to. Now, what about the domain? Let's do the domain. The old domain says x is greater than or equal to -3, but less than or equal to 5. Okay? Well, and it says here we have to shift the graph horizontally 8 units to the left. 8 units to the left. Okay? So, if it's 8 units to the left, so it's going to be subtract 8. For all of the x values, we're going to subtract 8. So what's the new domain? So it's going to be x is greater than or equal to -11, but less than and equal to -3. Yeah. Okay. And that, again, that's a nice multiple choice question. It's very simple question, but there's a lot of understanding behind it, right? A person can't just say, hey, I know what's happening in here. But okay, so far so good. Yeah. Okay, now this is number 6. Previous questions, previous examples, we called the function f of x. Okay, so the previous functions that we had, we called it f of x, g of x, so we don't know a specific function in here. But this one here, in example 6, we have a specific example. Now, it says here, the graph of y equals 1 over x. Okay, stop right there. Okay. Now, we talked about this at the beginning. We looked at the basic graph. So you guys remember that? We graphed everything. Okay. If you were here, we did that one. Okay, so last time this is what we did. We looked at linear. What does a linear graph look like? What does a basic quadratic graph looks like, right? No translations going on there. Absolute value, and then we call it reciprocal function. So this is what that graph looks like, right? The y equals to 1 over x really looks like this graph, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to, I gave you graph paper. If you need graph paper, you can come up and get some more. So we're going to write down example 6 in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to graph that and also do the translation. Oh yeah, help yourself. Oh, sorry. I thought you were coming for the graph paper. Okay. So example 6, I'll just write it down in here. The original graph is y equals to a reciprocal function y equals to 1 over x. And then now it says here it's getting translated 3 units to the left, 3 left, and then we're going to do 2 up. Okay, so just basically, I'm just writing down the important information there. So, what is the new equation of the graph? Or what is the new equation of the image graph? Starting off with, let's graph it first. This is x, this is y. Now we did a table of values last time. We're not going to do table of values. We're just going to calculate it in our minds, and then we're going to plot the points. Is that okay? Yeah. And if you're not sure, you could always go back to your notes from a few days ago. Okay. So if x is 1, what is y? If x is 1, what is y? 1 over 1, which is 1, right? Okay. If x is 2, what is y? 1 over 2, which is 0.5. Okay, so if x is 2, it's going to be 0.5. And if I keep increasing that, it's going to go lower and lower and lower, right? Okay, so I'm just going to, I'll do the thing later. Now, if x is a half, if x is half, it's going to be 1 divided by a half. Well, what's that equal to? 2. Right? So, if x is a half is here. 1 divided by half is 2. What does the graph look like there? It looks like we're going to have to follow an asymptote. Okay. We have asymptote horizontally, and when we have an asymptote vertically here. So far, so good? Now, 0 is undefined, right? Because we can't put 0 in there, because if we put 1 divided by 0, we're going to get an undefined answer. So 0 is an asymptote. Now what about if x is negative 1? Okay, what would it be? If x is negative 1, it's going to be 1 over negative 1, which is negative 1. So if x is negative 1, y is negative 1. If x is negative 2, what would the negative? Negative a half. Negative a half. Okay. And if it's negative 3, it's going to be 1/3. It's going to get smaller. What if it's negative a half? It's going to be negative 2. So this is what that graph looks like. You guys are probably, everyone's probably getting really comfortable with the graph. It takes practice, right? Yeah. So this is what this graph, this function looks like, right? It's a very specific function. The function is 1 over x. Now, this is what we're going to do. We're supposed to move the graph 3 units to the left and 2 up. Okay. So what would that look like? The points move. The asymptote also, asymptotes, both of them, will also move, right? So this vertical asymptote, because we're moving it to the left, will also move to the left. Is that okay? Can you imagine that in your mind? So this vertical asymptote will also move to the left as all of the points. Now, this horizontal asymptote at y equals 0, because everything goes up, also the asymptote moves up 2 units. So, what would be the new asymptote? Let's start with that. So this vertical asymptote, we have to move it to the left. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay. And this horizontal asymptote at y equals 0 is now moved up 2. So 1, 2. So where do you think your graph is going to be? Where do you think the new image graph is going to be? Probably somewhere here, right? Yeah? And then this part over here got moved this way, right here. Okay? So let's see if that's true. Okay, so we're going to put an x, y, and an image point. So what are the points? It's going to be negative 2, negative a half. That's 1 point on our original graph. Negative 1, negative 1. Is that okay? There's nothing for 0. Oh, we're going to do negative a half is negative 2. That's this point right there. Positive a half, it's going to be positive 2. So that's that point right there. Positive 1, 1. That's this point right there. And 2, 1/2. Okay. So what are we going to do here? It's x, 3 units to the left, so it's going to be minus 3. So h is negative 3, minus 3. What about the y? It says y is 2 up. So that's going to be y plus 2. Plus 2. K is plus 2. So let's go figure that out. X is negative 2. So it's going to be negative 5. And that's going to be positive 1.5. Is that okay? If y is negative a half, negative a half plus 2 is positive 1.5. Okay, now what about this point? Where is this now? Negative 4. Positive. Okay, negative 1 goes in here. So negative 1 plus 2 is positive 1. What would this be? Negative 3.5. That would be 0. Right? Because negative 2 plus 2 would be 0. And this one would be negative 2.5, comma 4. This one would be negative 2, comma 3. And then the last one would be negative 1, comma 2.5. Okay. So let's graph the image. So it's going to be negative 5, 1.5. 1.5. So right there. Okay. Next one is negative 4, positive 1. The next one is negative 3.50. Okay. And then now I'm getting the positives. Negative 2.5, positive 4. Negative 2, 2.5, positive 4. Negative 2, positive 3. And then negative 1, 2.5. So where's the new image graph? The new image graph is now right here. Just as what we expected it to be. Right? And we have to be careful not to cross or touch the asymptote here. Is everybody okay? So we graphed two graphs. The original function, y equals to 1 over x. And then we also graphed the second function after we translated it 3 left, 2 up. Okay. So far so good? So it's good to have a visual picture, right? Good to have a visual. If we do algebra stuff, yeah, we can do algebra, but we can't see, you know, it's good to have an image in our mind. So, having said this, the question is really saying, what is the equation of the image graph? The equation of image graph. So y minus k equals f of x minus h. Now we're gonna drop the f in here, right? Because we are looking at a very specific function, y equals 1 over x. What did we say? K is 2, right? K is 2. So we're going to go y minus positive 2. I'm going to put positive 2 there because we want to make sure that we understand where that's coming from. Now I'm going to drop the f because that's a general function. We want to have just the specific function 1 over x. So 1, what's the function? 1 over x. And what's h value? H value is -3. So minus -3. Okay, so the k we substituted with a 2, and then the h we substituted with a -3. So now it looks like y minus 2 equals 1 over x plus 3. Okay? No more f because this is a very specific reciprocal function. Okay? Is that good? Of course, we can write it like that, or another way is to have the y isolated. So bring this over to the other side, or y equals to 1 over x plus 3 plus 2. Yeah. Is that okay? Taking our time, really. So that's example 6, letter A. Letter A. Good? I'm going to set it aside. Let's take a look at this one. The graph of 1 over x squared is translated 4 units to the right and 1 unit down. What is the equation of the image? What is the equation of the image? Okay, so again, this is very specific. I think the textbook calls it explicit function. What is the explicit function? Okay, so first of all, 4 units to the right. Okay, 4 units to the right means, is that the h or the k? H. So h is equals to positive 4. And 1 unit down, so that's k, and that's equal to minus 1. So we're going to go y minus k equals to f of x minus h. Okay. This is a general form. Okay, let's do this one first. So y minus k, k is a -1, so we're going to go y minus -1. -1. Yeah, it will be +1 after we fix it up. Okay, good. We're going to drop the f because we have a specific function. We don't need that anymore. So our specific function is 1 over x squared. Okay, so where's the x? X minus h. Okay, what's the h value? 4. So 4. And what are we doing with that? We're squaring it. Okay. So now, let's fix it up. Okay, we'll just go this way. So y plus 1 equals 1 over x minus 4 squared. Now if we want the y isolated, we can take this plus 1 to the other side. We can say y equals to 1 over x minus 4 squared. Oops, brackets.
So,
Minus 1, yes.
so it's not x squared minus 4.
No, it's not x squared minus 4. Because what's happening here, that's a good question. Very good question, okay? So the question that Nick had said, it's not x squared minus 4. It's, so when we look at this, what do we do first? When we move the x, we're changing the x first, and then once we got that x, then we can square it after. That's why we have to put it inside the brackets. Is that okay? Yeah. So we're moving the x first, and once we figure out what that x value is, and then we can square it. Good question. Very good. Yes? Okay. Now what about this one? Do you remember that graph?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Square root of x. Okay, square root of x is translated 7 units to the right
3 units up.
and 3 units up. What is the equation of the image? Okay, so when they say 7 units to the right, so that tells us h is equal to
7 positive 7.
positive 7. And when they say 3 units up,
Positive plus 3.
k is equal to positive 3. So let's write it down. So y minus k equals to f of x minus h. C. So y minus the k value, k is 3, equals, okay, since we're talking about the specific function, we're going to drop the f, right? Of course.
If we just square H1 doesn't affect the graph because for the previous quotient, if we square minus 4, it's 16.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe, okay, I'll finish this one first and then I'm going to come back and show us a picture. Yeah, now we got to look at like, what's a picture? And then maybe when I do the picture, it will make sense of it. Yeah. Okay, we'll clear up. Your questions are good. Okay, don't think questions are bad. So let's finish up first, and then we are gonna go back to that one because this is now two people are asking the question. What's happening with them? Okay, so let's finish this one. So we're gonna drop the f, right? General function, because we're looking at the specific square root function. So square root of x minus, what's the h? 7. So that's it. Or if we want, we isolate the y. We go y is equals to square root of x minus 7, and then bring that to the other side as plus 3. Okay? Yeah, let's take a look. Okay? Any questions about letter C? Okay. We're going to go back to B, because now we're thinking, like, how do we do that one? B. Okay. Now, the original function is y equals to 1 over x squared. How does that graph look like? Okay. Let's see. Is there a non-permissible value here? 0, yes, 0. Because we cannot divide by 0. So 0 is a non-permissible value. Can I put a negative value for x?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could. So we could go negative 2. If x is negative 2, what is the y? If x is negative 2, what is the y?
1/4.
1 over 4. Yeah, 1/4. So 1/4 or 0.25, yes. Now if x is negative 1, what is y?
Positive 1.
Positive 1. Yeah, because it's going to be 1 divided by negative 1 squared is positive 1. 0 is undefined, so I'll just put undefined. Now because it's undefined there, what happens at that spot? There's going to be a vertical asymptote. Very good. Now let's do 1. If x is 1, what would the y? 1. If x is 2, what is the y? 1 over 4 or 0.25. Now, because the denominator is x squared, it means the denominator will always be positive, right? And if you go 1 divided by something positive, overall is positive. So what does that graph look like? So negative 2 is 0.25, negative 1 is 1, 0, undefined, 1, 2 is 0.25. Okay, well, where's the graph here? This is my asymptote. Any idea where the graph is? How does a graph look like? Okay, remember the y can't be negative, so it's going to be going like this, and then going like this. Okay, so what's our asymptote? Okay, x equals to 0 and y equals 0 because the degree of the denominator is greater than the degree of the numerator. Yeah, so we got 2 asymptotes in here. Okay, so what we're saying is for this one, where's my question? It says 4 units to the right, 4 units to the right, and 1 unit down. Okay, so far so good. We're going to apply that on our thing. These are our points. Negative 2, 1/4, negative 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1/4. What's our image? It says 4 units to the right, so that means x plus 4, comma, 1 unit down, so it's going to be y minus 1. Okay, so let's, because there's a horizontal, vertical and horizontal translation, even the asymptotes move along, right? So 4 units to the right, this asymptote go move to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this horizontal asymptote will move down, so it's going to be now down here. Where is your graph now? Okay, hopefully I can answer your question, both of your questions. So the graph is now going to be somewhere over here, right? This is going to be your graph down here, and then this part here is now there. So, what's our image? X plus 4, so that's going to give us 2, and the y would be negative. Okay, so this is 0.25, so it's going to be negative 0.75. Okay, now what about this one? What's the next one? Okay, see ya. It's going to be positive 3. Y minus 1 would be 0. So there's an x-intercept there. X plus 1, sorry, x plus 4 is 5. And then this one would be also 0. And then the next one would be 6. And that's going to be negative 0.75. So 2. It's going to be, oh, what did I just not do? 4 units to the right. Okay, back up. I did 4 units to the left. Yeah. Okay, let's fix that. Now I can see, like, oh, that's what my calculation is not matching with the graph. They have to match, right? Units to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that makes, yeah, 2, 3. Now the graph would be this way and then this way. That makes sense. Did somebody see my mistake earlier? Oh, you were, okay. When I translated to the left instead of right, should have said something. Okay, so 2, negative 0.75, so it would be right there. Negative 3, no, positive 3, 0. 1, 2, 3. 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 0. And then 6. So the graph is now like this. Shifting it to the left 4, 1 down. Okay, so now, what does this have to do with your question? What did we do? We first, when we did this, what we did was we had to subtract the 4 first, translate it first, and then square it after. So the question earlier was this. The question is, why do we have to subtract it first? Okay. Because before we apply the squaring, we have to translate the points first and then apply the overall thing. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Okay, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to take a quick break, and then what we'll do is we'll finish up the last 2 examples. Oh, how to do letter C? Okay, so yeah, why don't you go take a quick break, but I will continue on with letter C. Yeah, yeah, we'll do the same.